So in today's video, I wanted to talk about art supplies, especially watercolor art supplies, do a mini art haul, and talk about how buying art supplies in Argentina differs from elsewhere. I'm an expat from the States, by the way, but I've also lived or traveled to Japan, Canada, China, and Europe. And buying art supplies in any of those places, of course, was always really easy. The only limits I would have were self-imposed, as in what budget I had set for myself or how I was traveling home and how much I could carry with me. So when I first moved down here, I assumed it would be the same. But as I started to find my way around, I realized that the art stores, or librerias as they're called here, tended to be really small. And even in the two largest ones, Teorama and Libreria Levache, were just as limited in the brands they offered as the smaller places. And everything, even the cheap student grade stuff, was pretty expensive, like at least twice what I might pay for them in the States. But at the time, my main art mediums were my computer and my drawing pencils. So I wasn't too bothered about this, especially since if I needed something not on offer here or at a better price, I would just order it off Amazon US, have it sent to my mother's, and then she would send me all my stuff at the end of the year. And so that it did mean a lot of waiting, which I wasn't used to, but it also kept me from feeling totally cut off from the rest of the world. I mean, that's how I got my iPhone, my iPad, my set of Holbein gouache paints, and a bunch of other stuff. But in 2019, that all came to a full stop when the people at the Correo Internacional, where I went to pick up my box, informed me about all these new regulations, fees, and taxes that had just been put into place. And because I had unintentionally violated like all of them, they were going to tape my box back up and send it back to the States. So yeah, that was pretty traumatic. But my mother was nice enough to try once more, this time following the rules and regulations. But a long story short, there was a really unfortunate mix-up, and let's just say I never did get my stuff, and that was the last time my mother ever sent me a yearly box. So after that, since I couldn't afford to travel and my options were limited to buying in person, buying online through Mercado Libre, or from abroad through Tienda Mia or AliExpress. But after my last experience with the Correo Internacional, I really didn't want to take that kind of risk again, at least for a while. I mean, I do plan to, but I'm still waiting. So, back in 2020 during lockdown, I decided to give watercolors a serious try. I mean, I already had a 12-color Cotman set, but I didn't enjoy using them very much, and I really wanted something larger with all professional grade paints. So I had to buy everything online during that time, and it was then that I saw just how limited my buying choices really were, how few professional watercolor brands were being sold here. I mean, basically just two, Winsor and Newton Professionals and Rembrandts. And when I would ask for individual colors, they were usually out of stock of at least half the colors I was asking for. So I just started with a 12-color Winsor and Newton Professional set at more than twice the cost of what it would have been in the States, and I built up from there, adding more Winsor and Newtons, Rembrandts, Van Goghs, and even one Schmincke half pan in May Green. I'd originally ordered 5 Schmincke half pans, basically everything some seller on Mercado Libre had in stock, but Argentinian mail being what it is, only one of them reached me. But recently, though, like in just the past few months, three new brands have finally become available here: Daniel Smith, Sennelier, and White Knights. Like, but all crazy expensive. Like a 12 color Daniel Smith set, which is only $63 on Amazon US, is $386 here, and a 48 color Sennelier set, which costs $180 on Amazon US, is a whopping $650 here. And even if I just wanted to try one tube of Daniel Smith paints, one tube would cost me $90 US. And even a cheaper brand like Arteza, their 12 tube set, which costs $18 in the States, is a crazy $120 here. So, but I did, as you might have guessed, get a box of White Knights paints. I had gone to the one art store in all of Argentina, which was about an hour away from my house, that sells the White Knights paints, with enough cash on me to buy about 6 colors, because getting a whole set meant using my American credit card at the official rate, which basically means paying an additional amount on top of the already overly inflated price. But by this point, I'd already lived here 11 years. 11 years seeing the same 5 or 6 brands: Faber-Castell, Daler Rowney, Royal Talons, Derwent, Caran d'Ache, minus, of course, their best pencils, Luminance and Winsor & Newton. So to see something totally new and a brand I'd always wanted to try, and seeing how a 16-color set was only 3,000 pesos more than I'd originally planned to spend, so that meant I'd be using my credit card for only 3,000 more. It was 15,000 altogether, but had I only used cash, I could have only paid 13,500. So yeah, it's always better to pay with cash here. And this might sound weird to some of you, but after I got this set, I just stared at it. I mean, for days. It was a really busy week, so I really didn't have the time to start using them just then. But I'd started using watercolors again during lockdown, and besides the brand and color limitations and having to buy everything online despite the uncertainties and hazards of Argentinian mail, we also had one of the longest, strictest lockdowns in the world. We couldn't go further than 2 blocks from home without risking a fine or even getting arrested. And it was only pretty recently, that just maybe like this past July or August, that people finally stopped wearing masks inside grocery stores and places like that. So to be able to get this set in person, even though lockdown had been over for a while, it felt in a strange way like a true end to lockdown. And the limitations and the confinement I'd been feeling during that time were finally over. So the colors in this set make a really good starter set with cool and warm versions of all the primaries, along with a decent selection of convenience colors, though it does have more cadmium colors than I'd like. And I do wish instead of cobalt and cadmium orange, they'd included cerulean and maybe Titian or Venetian red, because cadmium orange and golden look so much alike to me. And the two blues, even though they vary in temperature, I still find them way too similar. I mean, cerulean would have just made more sense to me, so I think I'll be adding to this palette or swapping out some of the colors. But I do really love these paints. I especially love that they're different from Winsor & Newton's or Rembrandt's. I think they're maybe brighter and more intense. I mean, in my little Disney Cupcake watercolor experiment, the background in the White Knights one on the top took only 1 layer, but the Winsor & Newton one on the bottom took 3. And the White Knights Scarlet that I used for the macaron looks way more vibrant than the Winsor & Newton red, which I have to admit really surprised me. I really did not expect that. And also, these paints just come in a cardboard box, and ideally I would move these over to an empty metal tin, but surprise, you won't find empty watercolor palettes for sale anywhere here, or even empty plastic ones. I have found 3D printed ones like these, but none of them accommodate full pans. So what I did was I bought this cheap Fibro Facile or chipboard box from this craft store, and I think it can fit up to 30 full pans. So, and I might also cover this up in acrylic paint to make it waterproof. So, and in addition to the White Knights, I've also been collecting these Van Goghs. They are classified as student grade, so I didn't want to add them to my palette back in 2020, but after some YouTube research, I saw that their main drawback was that some of the colors used 2 or more pigments, making them possibly less transparent than other brands. But among their many pluses, many of their colors are single pigments. So I've tried to pick only those when I could. They also have colors that I couldn't find in Winsor & Newton or Rembrandt, like the Naples Yellow Red or the Titanium Buff. Most importantly, though, the colors are light fast, and they're half the price of the Winsor & Newtons or Rembrandts. So I did end up giving them a go in order to round out my palette with more earth colors and greens. And I especially wanted to try neutral tint after seeing how many other watercolor artists use it in their palettes. And so the colors I have here are Oxide Black, Azomethine Green Yellow, Quinacridone Purple Blue, Indian Yellow, Dusk Green, Dusk Violet, Lavender, Interference Blue, and Naples Yellow Red. And these are all extra convenience colors and granulating colors that I've just been wanting to try out, especially the lavender, Indian yellow, and the dusk colors. And these new colors are going into my old Cotman palette. Cotmans, like I said, were my first ever set of watercolors. I got them to take on a backpacking trip when I was still in art school, and they were my go-to traveling set for ages. But I gotta say, I really wish I'd run across these Van Goghs earlier in my life, because the Cotmans were always, they always felt like such a struggle to use. And I hate to say, I just assumed all watercolors were like this. And with only 12 colors, I felt like I was using the same color scheme again and again in each painting, which is why when I got back into watercolors, I promised myself that I'd get as many colors as I wanted and just play around and have fun. But I don't intend to get any Daniel Smiths or Senneliers here. I mean, I could just never justify paying such prices, but I might try ordering them through Tienda Mia or AliExpress, or maybe I'll try Magello Mission Gold or Ruben Small's watercolors first. I'm really not sure yet, but I'll definitely keep you posted because I really want to do more art related videos on this channel in addition to the travel, food, and lifestyle videos I've been doing. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!